Okay, welcome to our mixed reality project. First, we are going to import our footage. So let's go to File, Import, File. It's in the downloads under Doorway. I named it Doorway. And I'm going to bring it in. And I just want to make a composition with the same settings of this footage. So either I can bring it down to this little icon that says comp, or I can right click on it and say new comp from selection. I'm just going to hit that. Okay, if I open this up and look at the footage, you'll see that right here, the video info, you'll see that it's in 4K. And I don't want that. I just want 1K. Sorry, I just want HD. So what I'm going to do is, and I also, to track this properly, I need to transform this into a PNG sequence or an image sequence. This is not the most reliable format to do a track on. So the first thing I need to do is select it, go to composition and say add to media Adobe encoder. Okay, and it's up. And the sequence will be put into my queue. I'm going to go and find the PNG format. Then I'm going to go to the preset and just choose the PNG sequence. I don't need the alpha, just the source. Okay. Next, I need to change the size to HD because remember, we're in 4K. Must have done it twice. So I'm going to click on this. It's going to create a connection. And then I'm going to come down to my basic settings here, right? Uncheck this box. And then I'm just going to change the height, okay, to 1920 and enter. And you'll see that the width now is 1080, and that's exactly the correct resolution. Okay, so now I'm just going to hit OK to come out of that. And I'm going to specify where I want to put it. And where I want to put it is I made a special folder and I called it Doorway PNG. And this is where I'm going to put it. Notice that I've already exported this out because it takes a while. So to show you the demo, I've already gone ahead and done it. So I'm going to save. And if I press play here, it'll render this out. Okay. So I'm going to go back now because I've already done this already. I'm going to re-import that into this project. So here we go here. I'm going to find, there's a folder called screen record. And on screen record, you'll see doorway PNG. And I'm just going to, inside is all of my PNG sequence. But what I want to do is I just want to grab the folder here and copy it into my library here. So now you see it here. And now I need to make a sequence with this. So I'm just going to drag it down here to my comp, new selection from comp icon, and it's going to create another comp. But this time, if we go to the composition settings, you'll notice that it's in HD now. Next, I'm going to rename this. I'm going to come here, right click on it and click rename and call it doorway underscore comp. Okay. And perfect. Next, I'm going to select the comp here. Okay. I'm going to come into effect. And what I need to do is I need to create a 3D camera track because we need to solve the camera for this scene in order to put 3D objects in. So we need to figure out, what camera this is, what focal length, and all of that. But luckily, After Effects has a great little effect called 3D Camera Tracker. And I'm going to click on that, and it's going to analyze it in the background. You can see it right here. It's analyzing, it's initializing here. And when it's finished, see it's going here, 3%, 5%. As it goes, 1 more minute, it'll do its thing, and then it'll give me a bunch of points. Okay, so now we are back, and if I've done a couple things here because things take time, so I went ahead and worked away, but I'm going to show you the process. So if we come under the effects in the 3D camera tracker window and under effects, if we pull this down and click on it, we'll get a bunch of dots, and these dots are points, and the points are corresponding to specific pixels on the two-dimensional image. And from that, it's creating parallax. If I move here, it's constantly updating the points depending on the error rate, if the point is holding on a pixel or not. So some of them are solid, some of them are not as good. But if we come here, sorry, if we come here and look at our effect, and we go under advanced here, right? We come here, click on 3D camera tracker, come down here, pull down advanced, you'll see that my average error is 0.24, which is very good. You don't want it over 1. If it's over 1, you'll see some errors here, you see some sliding, but this is pretty good. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of texture on the ground. You see this kind of geometry on the bricks here. There's some geometry at the door, and then there's even some stuff inside of the door that's giving some great parallax as I move the camera in. So the first thing I need to do is I need to set the origin and the ground plane. So I need to find a place where I'd like to put, because right now we've got a camera tracker, but we have no idea where the origin is, where the 0, 0, 0, the X, Y, and Z would be. So what I'm going to do is I want to put it basically around here somewhere. And I want to select only the points that are on the ground. Only points that are on the ground. And that's pretty good. You'll see that this target here is, maybe over here's the ground too. Here, that's pretty good. You'll see that the target here is in the same plane roughly as the ground, and that's exactly what we want. And that's a good origin. It's right in the middle. Well, not quite, but close to the middle. And that's nice for me because I want it close to the door. So next I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to click on Set Ground Plane and Origin. Done. So now we know that that's where the origin is. Next, I'm going to right click on it again, and I'm going to create a solid and a camera. So here's our solid, and I'm quickly going to rename it as ground plane. And let's just make it a little bit bigger here so we can see it. Right? I'm not going to change the rotation. I just want to I'm going to change, leave it on this plane here. I don't want to change the plane, but I will rotate it a little bit so we can have it on the same plane or close to the plane as this wall here. So it's rotated in the same way as the door. And as we move, we can see that it's really working. But I want to make sure it's even it's working even more than I can see it. So sometimes what I do is I click on the layer plane and add a grid. You can generate a grid here by going to Effects and going to Generate. And you can click on this grid here, and you'll see there's a grid. It's very small though, so if I come to the border and make it bigger, you'll see a nice grid. And in that way, I can look. And maybe I want that back line right to be on the edge of this door going in. And as I look, I could just make sure that it's not slipping too much. and it's pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate. So I like that. So that's good. Next, what I want to do is I want to get a location for this actual door. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to find some points. So I have to click on my 3D camera tracker. Sorry, I'm going to click on my footage, right, where my effects are, my 3D camera tracker is here. I always get that mixed up. So I'm going to click on this 3D camera tracker, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm just going to find points that are on that door plane. If I scan through, maybe I can get some better ones. But right now, I can see a few. One there, one there, one there, one there, one here. Yeah. So that's for sure on this plane here. Right, it's for sure, and that's probably good enough to figure out where this is going to be. So I'm going to just right click on that and create a solid. And this solid's going to be, I'll rename this solid, it's going to be doorway. And I'll just pull this out. Slightly bring it down over a little bit. You see, I'm not leaving the plane on the z-axis, just on the other axis. It's just so I can roughly see if it's going to work. Okay, I'm just going to change the color of that. And just change the solid settings and quickly change it to another color, to blue. Okay, now we've got blue. Good. This is good. This is good enough to go to the next part, which is to export this scene into Maya. Export these two locations, the ground plane and the doorway, and export the 3D tracker camera. So to do that, I first have to create some keyframes. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my 3D camera tracker, open it up. I'm going to go to camera options here, and I'm going to select zoom all the way to aperture, these four. I'm going to make sure I'm at frame 0, right? And I'm just going to click on the stopwatch button. It's going to make a keyframe at frame 1. I'm going to go to the very end of the scene, and then click on make a keyframe again, and it's going to make another one there. That's perfect. Next, I'm going to go to and click on doorway and ground plane, both my pieces of geometry here that I created, my planes. And I'm going to hit S for scale. And I'm just going to click on the stopwatch again to make a keyframe, and it'll keyframe both the layers. Then I'm going to go back to the first frame and click on the keyframe button, and it'll make another one. And that's perfect. I'm now going to click P for position and do the same thing. I'm going to go to frame 0 and hit the stopwatch. And next, I'm going to go to the very last frame and hit the keyframe. And I'm done. Hit P to close it up. And I just want to show you where all that information is, which is under transform, position, and scale. Okay, and notice that these keyframes are in. And in the same way, they're in for the ground plane too. So we're doing a good job. Okay. Next, I'm going to select the layers I want to export. And I'm going to go File, and I'm going to click on the Scripts button. And this is where we're going to run a script file. The script we're going to run is a link that is located in the info on this video. So go to the URL and download that script. And then once you download it, you'll have to extract it and copy it to your hard drive. Okay, and that's what I've done. And then when you're ready, you go to the scripts and you run the script file. Okay, it could be on the desktop. It doesn't really matter where it is, but it should not be zipped up. Okay, it's got to be extracted. Okay, so I click on this twice, and then we have our AE3D export window that comes up, and we're going to export it to Maya. Option box. Okay, what we want is we don't want to shift the comp to the center, and we don't want to add cameras. Okay, so close that. And next, we're ready to export. So, but first, we got to make sure that the our After Effects can save is able to save scripts. Okay, I know I can do it, but I want to make sure you've enabled it. Okay, so to do that, you've got to go into Edit, okay, Preferences, okay, General, okay. Find Scripting and Expressions, and make sure Allow Scripts to Write Files and Access Network is checked. Okay. Okay. We're good to go. We export. Okay. It's just saying you're overwriting it. And yes, we are, because I've already done this. So yes, but you probably won't. But yes, it's safe to overwrite. Doesn't matter to me. Okay. Perfect. Now let's jump over to Maya. Okay, we jumped over to Maya. Okay, and now we have to um, file. And what we're going to do is we are going to import. Okay, on the desktop, you'll find your project that you exported. Mine's called doorway underscore project. I'm going to grab that and I'm going to import it. Okay, but you see it's imported the geometry just as locators, the center of that, the center of your gizmo basically is where this locator is. Okay, so the pivot is basically where the locator center is. So there's the doorway, and this is the ground plane, and this is the camera. But we don't know where this is, and we don't know what scale it is. Okay, but we know that the ground plane, right, the pivot is set to the origin, which is 0, 0, 0. So what we can do is we should group all of these three together into one group and call this AE group. Okay. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to find the ground plane, the locator, the ground plane locator, by clicking on it and then hitting F. This is where the locator is. Okay. And then I'm going to click on the group transform. Okay. Hit W, which brings up my pivot. Hit D to change my pivot. And then I'm going to snap it by holding down V. I'm going to snap it to this point, which is the doorway um, locator point. Okay. So now I hit W again and it locks it. So now if I pull out, you'll see that here's the grid on the right, and here is by my origin, which should be right in the center, which it isn't, right? Because when you bring in something from After Effects, it's all over the place, and this is how we're going to fix it. Okay. So now I'm going to move the doorway origin over, but in the through a group over to the center of the scene. Okay, so to do that, I can come up here and just hit this button here, which will take me to the center. I'll click on my group here, hit W, and hold down X to bring it to the center of the scene. And that's it. You're done. Okay, you now have it located properly. Okay. Next, I'm going to split the screen in two. Okay, I'm going to bring up my, whoops, what's wrong button? I'm going to bring up my camera from After Effects, right? And you can see now that the camera is huge. The space it's way too big. Um, this is obviously small, but this is way too small. So next we're going to have to change the size of this transform to make it smaller so it matches more of the scale of the scene. So sometimes I like to you know, throw something in the middle so I can see it more clearly, see if I'm getting the proper scale. Um, you know, Sometimes I'll come to Windows here and I can go to Content Browser and maybe I'll throw in an animal. I'll throw in something recognizable. Maybe I'll just put a cat in. Okay? So we'll go with the cat. Okay, if I click on it twice, it comes up, and then I'll just, oh, you don't even see that, but sorry. Here's the window. So I had gone to Window, Content Browser. This came up. I clicked on the animal and clicked on the cat twice. Now put it in the middle of my scene. Now if I go to um, my scene here, I see, look how big the cat is. The cat is nowhere near big enough to be seen properly. So I know that it's way too big. So if I go to my transform group, my AE group, and I come to scale, I'm going to click on all three of the scale, the X, Y, Z, and I'm just going to try 0.1. And now I'm starting to see the cat still way too small. So let's try it even smaller. Let's go 0.01. Okay, and that's looking a lot better. So this is good. It's not probably perfect, but it's good enough so I can start working. Okay, so I've got my AE group and I've got my cat. Next, let's import our footage. Well, first, let's change some of these titles. They're a little bit long. So I'm going to click on this twice and just go AE cam, right? And inside the AE cam, I'm going to go here and just change this to doorway and change this to ground plane, locators, and um, come here and just call this cat geo. And good. Next, I'm going to just save the scene, right? So I'm going to come here and make sure I make a new project window, right? The project window will be, yes, it'll be doorway. That's what I'll call it. And it'll be located here. Okay, I'll accept it, right? Well, you can create it, but I've already created it, so I'm good. Next, I will save it now. If I save scene, I can come into my doorway and scenes, click on scenes you see in the current project, put it in scenes, and I'll call it, because this is my second time doing this, doorway 2. I'll save it. Next, I'll click on the camera, and now I need my projection. Okay, now I'll need my video. So I'm going to grab that PNG sequence and throw it into my environment here inside my AE cam. Okay, so if I click on the AE cam and I go in Attribute Editor, I click on Create, right? It'll give me a plane. If I scroll up here, you'll see image name. So I'll come and I'll click on the folder, make sure I get doorway 0, open it. There it is. I'll make sure I use the image sequence, right? And you'll notice that, making sure that, I think this was, if I go back to AE, right? This composition settings is 30 frames per second. So we have to make sure that in Maya, it's the same. So if I click here, I can change it 30 frames a second. You can see that here's my plane, right? Here's my plane. Look at my camera. My camera is in front of my geometry, so I need to move this backwards. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to hit the camera. I want to see it. It's a bit small. So if I come into my camera shape, but I know where it is in the channel box, it's right here. Locator scale, right? So it's at 1. I'll make it 10. Now I can see the camera. But here is a lot. Wait, it's in front of the cat. We want to make it much deeper. So if we come here, we'll see, should see, if we come into attribute editor, go to image plane, we'll see the depth. You'll see the depth is at 100. Let's make it 1,000. And now the image is behind the cat. So the cat is in front. The next part, I should lay down a ground plane actually. So let's do that. I'm gonna lay down a plane here, polygon plane, and make sure my width is 4, my height is 4, and maybe I'll do 4 divisions and 4 height divisions. Create. I will pull it out and just position it so it matches where the doorway hits. Okay, that looks pretty good. I should change the name to ground plane. So ground plane geometry. Next, I want to make a marker, make a piece of geometry where the door is. So I'll make another plane, create, call this doorway geo, and I'll just rotate it. I can't see that, it's too small. So let's come into our channel box and rotate it on the X 90 degrees. Make it bigger. Make it come up here. We want to put it on the same location as this doorway here. All we have to do is snap it to that locator, which is right there. Now, if we shape the doorway, we should be able to model it. Well, first let's rotate it correctly. If we go, just gonna line it up so it's down here, over, and that's looking right. Okay, let's bring the rest of the geometry up to the doorway here. And move this all the way. It's pretty close. That's good. I want to put stuff inside this dilapidated building. And what I want to do right now is I want to maybe load some orbs in there. Okay. So I need to create that geometry. So I'm just going to create a sphere. This is good. And I'll make it bigger. Good. And I will call this orb geo. And I'm just going to put it behind this door somewhere. Doesn't have to be anywhere special. Okay. Now, if we take this door and we hide it, we'll see the orb. And we'll see that it's in the right place. Good. Right on. Okay. Next, what I want to do is, now that I've got some elements in the scene, first what I want to do is I want to click on my ground plane here. Okay, and I want to create a shadow catcher material. So if I right click on this and come into assign new material, right, and click on new material, find Arnold, find the AI shadow mat, right, and click on it. And now I have a shadow catcher for this plane. Okay. Next, I'll click on the cat, and I want the cat to be, I think, very, maybe it's a black cat. So I'll take it and create a new material, right? Assign new material. And I just want a regular Arnold shader, a regular AI standard surface. Okay. For my cat material, I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to make it black. Okay. Just for now. And the orbs, I will create another material. Favorite, assign new material. And this material will be an AI standard surface. I'm going to use the presets, okay? And I'm just going to create an incandescent bulb effect. So it's kind of glowy. And that's in the emission. You see it's set to 1 in the emission. I'm just going to make it kind of blue orby. Okay. All right. Now, all right, let's see what we have. If we go to Arnold and we go to Open Arnold Render View, you'll see that the dimensions are not right, right? We know that the dimensions for this camera are much different, right? So we need to change those dimensions. So if we come up here to this button beside the circle within a circle, you'll see this clapperboard with settings icon, this gear icon. If I click on it, you'll see this comes up, this window. And if I go to comment, I'm going to scroll all the way down. And here is my image size. And I know that, I don't know if there's a preset for this. There is not, so I'll just have to type it in. So I know that the height is 1920, and I know the width is 1080. That's about it. For the Arnold renderer, okay, I'm going to just change the samples to 5. Okay, for now, and that's good for now. Um, I'm just going to keep on CPU for right now. Okay, I will save it, and now I'll come into my Arnold render view and click on the right camera, right? The AI group camera. I'll hit render and it should change the settings to the correct settings. And it did. And you can see so far, we've got a cat, which is black. And we've got a sphere, which is blue. But we have nothing else because why? Because we have no light. And without a light, we have no shadows. We have nothing really. So let's go back. So let's go back and close this out. And what we need is to get a sky dome light in here, okay, that imitates the scene. All right, that imitates the scene somewhat. Now, if I go into After Effects here, you'll see it's a pretty bright day, but it looks pretty overcast. I don't see crazy shadows or anything, right? So let's go to the web, type in uh, polyhaven.com and go into HDRIs. Go to, we want outdoor, we want urban because we're in an urban setting and we're going to look for urban, overcast, um, midday. Let's look. Be nice to get that kind of concrete thing going on. Because if we look at the imagery, it's concrete with dirt. Um, so if we can get something like that, I don't see anything. Maybe this, because we see we see it's overcast. We see some dirt. It's gray. This is good too. The abandoned slipway, but there is water. Maybe that's not bad. Let's try this one actually. Yeah, let's try this. So let's download it. Okay, and we'll come back into Maya, right? And let's check the downloads folder. And you'll see it's right there. I'm just going to move it to my Maya folder and my projects. in my doorway project inside of images. I'll just paste it in here. Okay. So I know it's in the, I know I keep my projects organized. Okay. So now we come here and we're going to create our sky dome light under Arnold Lights Sky Dome Light. And here's our sky dome. Now in the color attributes under attribute editor, the color settings, we want to click on this checker box, right? We want to insert a file in here into our channel color. We want a file. And then inside the image name, we want to add, if we click on images here, you'll see that here's the HDRI. And we'll click on it and we're good to go. Now let's go to open Arnold Render View and render this. So now we're seeing the HDRI because what we did was we put the HDRI in, right? We go back to the HDRI here and look at our attributes here. We put the HDRI in, but we forgot, or I forgot, excuse me, I forgot to take the camera and make it 0 because we don't want to see the visibility inside the camera. We just want the information like the volume, the indirect, the specular diffuse. We want the lighting information, but we don't want to see the diffuse. So I'm going to set it to 0 and re-render. Okay, sometimes you gotta force it to come back. So I like to force it on Maya. There we go. And now we see our image back. Okay, and we see that the cat is here and it looks good. Looks like it's actually there now. There's a little bit of a shadow, right? And if we wanted to, we could create even more of a shadow, right? Because if we've got blue orbs in there, maybe there's more blue coming down in here. So if we wanted to, we could go here. We could create another light, an area light, and bring the light up here, right? Let's zoom in. If I hit F, I'll zoom in. You see that little pointer there. I want to rotate that pointer so it's facing down. And I'm going to come up here. And that looks pretty good. Maybe I'll come back. Maybe it's rotated a little bit too much. I want it straight down. And I'll make it slightly bigger. If I make this bigger, I get more of a blur on the shadows, right? It diffuses this a little more. So I don't want to go too much because I do want a shadow. I'm going to change the intensity to 100. Okay, and now I'm going to come up here and render it now. I'm getting that same thing so of the image being lost. But if I change the cameras, go back and forth with the cameras, it'll come back. And now you'll see maybe you're getting more of a shadow here. Okay, so you can keep on increasing this and even change the color. Like maybe I want blue, and maybe I want a lot more shadow. So now you see that the cat has a nice shadow here. Now to maybe complete this, I'll take the orb and I'll duplicate it. Maybe the cat's eyes are blue as well. There's some weird eyes. Okay, now I'm at the point where I don't want to see this image sequence in the background. I want to composite this later, and I just want to see an alpha in my render. So either I can select this and just simply delete, or I can come to Windows, I can come to Node Editor. Let me clear my scene, select my camera, view it, and you can see that the camera is connected to the image plane shape. And I'm just going to blow this away. And then if I render it, I'll be getting a nice, or I'll be able to see my alpha. Now with the cat, and you see this is my surface. I'm just going to change this. I'm going to use the preset of velvet. but I want it to be a velvet cat, but I don't want it to be too purple. Let's see what this looks like. The preset. We got a strange purple cat. So now what I want to do is I'm ready to export. And I want to composite this back into my After Effects scene. We're good to render. So save. And now I'm going to render. So I'm going to change to rendering mode. I'm going to come into render. I'm going to render the sequence. Okay, I'm going to go to my option box here. I want to change this to the right cam, right? And I'm going to first, I'm going to open up my render option box here just to see everything here, just to make sure. And what I want to make sure here is it's set to 5 at least. And also, sometimes I like to name properly. So I'll name this cat orbs, and it's going to be in EXR format. Okay. Or you can choose PNG. Just make sure the alpha is there. Make sure the alpha is there if you're going to do that. Not checked. But I'm going to use EXR. Okay. Merge the AOVs, and I don't need 32-bit. I need half that. So I'm going to click on this half. Next, I'm going to come into the metadata and make sure that I've got name number dot extension. I like this, but if you want, you can go name underscore number extension, but I'll do this. And my frame padding will be 3. Okay, 3 is good enough. My start frame will be 0, and my end frame 384. Close. I've got my render sequence here. I'm going to specify a location. I render sequence and close, and then just wait. It'll go through and render 0 to 384 frames for you. Okay, so now I need to export the door so I can use it as a track mat in After Effects. So those orbs can appear like they're inside that dilapidated warehouse. So let's turn off our geometry here, hide it. Let's bring back our doorway. And I am simply going to then render this out, and it's going to look like something like this, which will give us a nice track mat, a nice cutout in After Effects. So I need to export that. Come here, render. But first, let's go to our settings and make sure we change the name. We change to door mask. This stays the same. EXR is fine. Now come back to render and render the sequence, and make sure you specify a new folder, and then render that out. Now, what I want to do is bring it in to my scene. So let's first hide this, this, and this. And first, let's bring in the cats. Then let's bring in the door. So the cats will go first. They'll come in here. Sorry, it's cat. I don't know why. Cat orbs. So the cat will bring in, and he looks pretty good there. Forgot it. You might have to go back one frame. I think that's good. That's correct. Okay, it's one frame. So let's make sure that's the same on the door mask. Let's take the door mask, bring it in, and shift it one frame over so it syncs. And next, what I want to do is I want to specify this door mask to be a track mat. We want to change it. So on the bottom left corner here, you'll see an expand transfer controls panel. expand it, and you'll see right here the track mat. And what I want to do is I want to take this little pick whip and I want to select the layer that I want to use as the mat, which is the door. And there we go. We now have our mask. And that looks great, but where is our cat? Well, it's buried in that track mat. So let's bring it in again. Let's bring in the cats. Bring it back one frame. And this time I'll just mask it out because it just needs to be pretty simply masked out like that. I'll create an invert. And then I'll key that in. I'll create a key stopwatch mask path on this layer. Come back up. I'll probably have to do barely anything. But if I move these points that are connected to the path, then it'll create a keyframe down here for me. So I'll keep going. Not much like I was saying to do. And okay, that's done. Like I said, not much to do. Next, I'd like to put a little glow on this, on these orbs in the background. So if I come to the bottom orbs, which are these guys, yeah, I will create an effect. If I go to my effects presets here and I search for glow, there's one in stylize. So if I click twice on it, it'll come up. And I'm just going to play with some of these settings here. I'll grab more of a radius. That's kind of nice. More glow. It's the radius. That's nice. Okay, so I will save this and I am now ready to export this scene. So I will come to my composition. I will add this to my Adobe Media queue. It comes up here. I will pick H.264, right? Match the source is probably pretty good, right? If I click on it twice, it's going to bring up more settings. And, I don't need the audio, but, sometimes I come down here and the bitrate settings, I'll come and make it a 2-pass. And, I'll set a minimum max. I'll come up here. I'll set this to 14, this to 12. I will say okay down here. And then I'm ready to render. We just need to specify where. And save and play. Okay, and let's look at it. Bring it up here. And we have a mixed reality video.